let's get the basic idea about the addressing mechanism in the network industry. So here we need again a protocol, and a protocol which used for the addressing mechanism is called IPv4. Now it's the IP latest version is also introduced in the IT industry, which is called IPv6, but we will discuss it later. Right now we are focused on the IPv version 4, which is the first one, and still number of companies, organizations and telecommunications sector is using this addressing mechanism. Before going towards understanding the basic concepts of the IPv4, you need to understand this. Whenever we implement any kind of addressing scheme in the network industry, make sure that all the addressing mechanism must be standardized, because all these machines will be communicate with each other over the internet, and if the addressing scheme is not standardized, then how is it possible that number of machines can communicate over the internet? So if you can also take the example of the telecommunication authorities which are operational in a number of countries. So if you talk about the United Kingdom, you can easily analyze that whenever we try to communicate over the cell phone with any user which exists in the UK. So first of all, we will dial we will dial the country code, and after that the telecommunication company code, and after the individual identity of the user, which is also a decimal number. So it makes sense that if you want to connect with the user which is related to the UK, so you dial the country code, then the company code, and then the individual identity. In the same manner, if someone if one of my friends or colleagues live in America or live in UAE or live in India, so if I want to send any kind of documents or parcel, then the same manner will be followed. I must have to know the country name, then the state name, a hierarchical structured mention. Got my point? So country name, state name, and the city name, and within the city we must have to know the town name or a specific society name, and after that we will mention the specific residential address to whom I want to send the documents or any kind of parcel. So the same manner of the hierarchical structure will be implemented in the IPv4. Here, the first standard related to the IPv4 address is defined that IPv4 address must be used the binary numbering system. It will be based on zeros and ones. Excuse me. And what about the size? The size of the IP address must be 32 bits only, and this 32-bit IP address will be divided into 4 octets, and every octet, as you know, you get an idea with its name, that every octet will have 8 bits. Okay, so the first standards initially we defined, and now let's move further, because we are here to get the basic idea. So here the fourth one standard is IPv4 addresses are commonly expressed in dotted decimal notation. As in the previous slide we learned that the size of the IP address will be 32 bits, and these 32 bits will be divided into 4 octets, and these octets will be separated by dotted decimal notation. Like most of the time when you get the IP address, here if I can share with you, let me explain here. can see that if I write down an address, it will be 92.168.1.1. So although I'm writing this address in the decimal notation, but behind the scene binary numbering is in operation. So here you can see that 8 bits and then other 8 bits and then other 8 bits and then other 8 bits, but these 8 bits are separated by dots. That's why we use the expression notation is called dotted decimal notation. So you can utilize them in all aspects whenever we are going to implement the IPv4 address. So let's move further and learn the other ideas here. Now we divided this addressing scheme into number of classes due to the size of the network, because you know that corporate companies having different network size, while small business companies having less number of PCs, so they have a medium size of the network. And whenever we discuss about the smaller companies, so they have very small networks. So every organization have different requirements related to the number of addresses. So we divide these IP classes because of the size of the network which companies have. So initially we have 3 classes: class A, class B and class C. This addressing structure will be started from 0 and end up with the 255, not more than 255. If I define the address 10.10.10.256, so this address will be discarded, because I have already specify the standard of the 32 bits, and the addressing will be started from 0 and end up with the 255. It's like 2 to the power of 8. So if you calculate it, or you will get the results that the maximum numbers which I can get from the 32 bits is up to 255. Okay, so sorry. In the same manner, we started from 0 and 0 to 127. If any address have initial value of 0, or it's going to in the first octet 127, then this addressing range will be fall in the category of class A, and this class A having 16 million host addresses. Now you can understand that if you have a large number of computers, so you can get the class A IP addresses, because it can generate 16 million host addresses or computer addresses for you. Now after that we have class B. Here you can see that we have class B, and this class B will be started from 128 and end up with 191. So the next class will be the class B, and it's approximately give us the 65,000 host addresses. So in the first class A we get addresses in millions, and right now in the class B we get addresses in thousands. And when we move with the class C, so you can see that after 191, definitely the next one will be the 192. So this class is started from 192 and end up with 223, and this class only can generate 254 host addresses. So the smaller class is C is considered as the smaller class, which can only generate 254 host addresses. So if you have a smaller network, then you can utilize the class C. If you have a bit larger network or a small and medium sized business, so you will be go for the class B. And if you have enterprise network like Microsoft, Cisco, Google, and that kind of enterprises, then you must have to go for the class A. These standards are already defined by IANA, Internet Assign Number Authority, an organization which going to define the standards for the network industry. So although these technical aspects have require a lot of time to understand, but right now we are on the fundamental stage and we have time limitation. So when you go for other courses, definitely we will discuss in detail all the concepts related to the IP addresses, how these addresses going to be generated, what's the scene, what's going on behind the scene. Then we will definitely discuss all the pros and cons here. And other important concepts which you need to understand about the IP address, that these addresses having two types: public addresses and private IP addresses. So if your PC or if your server is operational over the internet, so internet is called the public network. While if you are working inside your office building, or you can create only a network in which your PCs can communicate with each other within a building. So when a network have a geographical limitation, so geo limitation, so these kinds of networks are called the private networks, and for those networks you will be use the private IP addresses. And for public, those types of servers, those types of machines which are accessible over the internet and which have no geographic limitations are called the public servers or the public networks. And for that purpose you will definitely use the public IP addresses. So few ranges we reserve from class A, class B and class C for the private IP addresses. So here you can see for class A we use 10.0.0.0 range for the purpose of private IP address, while in the class B we have 172.16 started value and it's end up with 172.31. So few ranges are reserved for the private network, because we know that most of the time servers are operational over the internet, and internet have millions and trillions of machines. So that's why the large number of the address quantity reserved for the public network. And here you can see in the class C we have a simple range 192.168 for the private networks. So I hope that you get the basic idea what is IP addressing basic structure and what are the classes structure related to the IPv4. But these addresses have their this IP version 4 have their own limitations, due to which we introduce an advanced level of protocol which is called IPv6. Because you know, IPv4, as we learn in the first slides, IPv4 only can generate 16 million addresses, not more than this. But right now if we analyze the internet, it has large number of uh, server machines or hosting addresses, and by time it's growing rapidly. So for that purpose we need trillions of addresses, billions of addresses for our internet industry. So that's why for generating more addresses we introduce IPv version 6 addressing schemes. And when we discuss these addressing schemes in our CCNA certification or other network plus certification, then definitely we will deep dive into the IPv6 concepts as well. Here are some other addresses related to the IPv4 which are reserved for many other purposes, like loopback address, and loopback address is called 127.0.0.1. Whenever you installed any kind of operating system on your desktop machine or laptop machine, this address is automatically assigned by the operating system to check the functionality of the internet protocol. We just ping this IP address, and if we get the response, then we know that this internet protocol is working properly. If we did not get any ping request from 127.0.0.1, so it means that IP protocol is not working properly. Okay. The other address which is reserved for from the range of IPv4 is called 169.254. Whenever this address range we observe on our LAN card or Ethernet card, and we when we checked our Ethernet card, and it's get the address of 169.254, so it means that our Ethernet card or our cabling infrastructure is not working properly, due to which we get this address. This address is called link local address, or most of the time it's called APIPA, which is showing that your network infrastructure is not operating properly. So that's why operating system assign this address by its own self. So the troubleshooting process will be more easier for you. And the other range which we reserved is called 192.0.2.0. It's for research purpose and for learning purposes. Most of the time in universities or in computer labs we are using this addressing scheme. So these are the fundamentals related to the IPv4 address. I hope that you get the basic idea, and when you enroll for the new when you enrolled yourself for the full course, definitely we will discuss, because these concepts require 2 to 3 hours to properly understand the basic idea and implementation ideas, and also the proper implementation in the lab infrastructure to get the basic idea. So till now we get the basic concepts, and I hope these basic concepts will help you a lot in your real life when you are interacting with the network industry. Thank you.